you again.
Hi, it's so good to see you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's nice. It's finally gotten like warm enough that I can get in my pool, so it feels a little like summer again. So,
Oh, that's
oh,
good.
in like 10 days it'll be so hot I will be complaining. But right now we're in that beautiful, beautiful point in time that it's perfect.
Yeah, there's like a balance, like a little baby time frame where you have a little bit of both.
Where the
Oh,
water is nice and cool, but the sun is just hot enough. Because like I said, in 3 weeks it'll be bath water. And I mean I'll still swim, but
it won't be as enjoyable as it might be a little bit more humid.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for wanting to come on here and chat with me on the
Oh,
podcast.
anytime.
It was so amazing. I loved getting to chat with you last time because you are just such a delight and yeah, I was just very, very happy to get to do this again about your new release.
Yeah, they seem to come fast. Especially sometimes it doesn't feel like it. I had the last one we talked about, I had finished because it was an indie book.
Mhm.
So, you kind of finish it and then it goes through a couple of weeks of edits and then it's out. This one I wrote it last year.
Oh wow, that and now it's just coming out. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's the difference between indie publishing and trad publishing is kind of wild. I think that a lot of people who only do indie publishing don't realize how long the production time is for a traditionally published book.
Yeah, yeah, it's got to be crazy because I'm reading both all the time, and when you have behind the scenes inside scoop and get to see how much actually goes
Uh-huh.
into it, it's crazy.
Yeah.
This book I actually read in like two sittings.
Oh, yeah. It's not a long. I don't. It's like 80,000 words, which for me is like short.
Yeah, it just like sucked you in very early on, and so it was very
I'm
dense.
glad to hear that.
Yeah, yeah. For those of you who will be listening, we have the amazingly talented Lexi Blake on here, New York Times bestselling author. You probably have heard a lot about her and all of her wonderful series and novels under her belt. But for those who are tuning in and maybe just now hearing about you, do you want to explain a little bit of what Built to Last is about?
Sure. So Built to Last is the last final book in the Park Avenue Promise series, but you don't have to have read any of the other books in order to read it. They're all three very standalone novels. It's basically the story of these three women who, as they try to make it big in New York, and they all enter these very kind of male-dominated fields, and they kind of promise to support each other and work together to build these careers that they want. And of course, get sidetracked by love along the way.
Of course, that just makes for the perfect story. Like, it's completely balanced, and I mean, who doesn't love a dose of love?
That's right.
And like you said, you can very much enjoy these as a standalone because this is my first one in this series by you, and I was not lost. Like I could keep up with everything and didn't feel like I was missing out on plot or anything. So
Good.
it was very well done. Speaking of the women in like these maybe more male dominant fields, what was it like to choose that career path for our FMC Harper? Like, what was the inspiration behind that?
Well, so when I started, I knew I wanted their careers to be a big part of the storyline. And I knew I wanted to start with the first book and start us up, which is about she is running tech. Basically, she goes in and she does startups. I wanted to do that because my husband did that. It's a world that I really knew. And then Annika is the second book, and I really, really wanted to do something based around reality TV
Yeah.
because I thought that was just this really fun world. And production, I think, is another field that seems like it should have a lot of women and women, female voices in it, and ends up being very, very male dominated again. And then I jo construction felt like something I could do that like there like while the other two have there are routes to get into. Construction feels very closed to women
Hmm.
in a lot of ways. So I really wanted to do that, and I wanted to I knew by the time we got to through Start Us Up that my royal showmance would just kind of go into this one.
Yeah.
And this is also based a little bit around reality TV and like home renovation shows, which I'm crazy about. My best friend, who's also my editor and assistant, she's crazy about. So it felt like something that we could use our knowledge to kind of make the book a little more real.
Yeah, I love that. It definitely felt like you was actually, reading about a real life family, real life characters, real life friend group, and I loved like all the supporting characters and like the girl group was one of my favorites, and I just think they all made it so special. It was just amazing because like you said, one of my favorite parts was when they I don't want to give any spoilers, but like let's just say when Harper first meets Jeremiah and Reed, and I love the line, why was she, like something like why was she in steel-toe boots? Like that was so good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're not prepared for her.
No, no,
And it's funny because I loved doing writing. I've written the three women for a while, so it was very easy and felt very natural to write them, just kind of moving through life. But it was fun to write the brothers
yeah.
because I wanted them to have a very kind of masculine relationship and but a loving non-toxic masculine, very forward-thinking masculinity between the two of them.
Mhm.
And Jeremiah might have been my favorite character to write in the whole book. So
Yeah, I can totally see that. He was a great addition. Like that was just a beautiful, like well-rounded series and stories, like with everybody. And I loved how everyone was so unique and then they all just sort of like brought something specific to the table for each of them. Yeah,
yeah, I feel like the character needs to they have to. There has to be a reason that they're there.
yeah.
Even the smaller secondary characters.
hmm Yeah, exactly. It's like it takes a village and then they all just create this wonderful, cohesive story that makes you just so obsessed and you want to know what happens next. And like now I want to go back and read the first two books because like I said, this was my first in this series by you. And so like I'm deeply invested now.
That's awesome. Then my job is done. Yes.
Yes! You won there. Oh my gosh, that is one thing that I love about your books. They're just like they're so fun. They're so they just bring everything to the table, like from your suspense to the romance. It's just all perfect. And I love how you do what you do. And thank you for sharing your gift with us.
Oh, thank you. That's so sweet.
When you had like, all of these characters and like coming from previous books and into this one, was there something specific that you wanted to make sure to include within the friend group? Like, because like I said, they're all uniquely amazing and like they have their own personalities. Like, is there something that you wanted to make sure to bring?
So I really wanted to kind of represent the kind of roles we fall into. A lot of ways, Harper has been the kind of rock of the group, the one who's always steady, always there for her friends. She's the one who's always had the very steady job because she came into it basically and it's an inherited job in a lot of ways. It's her family's construction company. Um, do some of them have a problem with her being a woman and being the CEO? Absolutely. And that forms a big part of the plot and of her growth into, but she feels in a lot of ways that she has this like I said, inherited job to take care of everyone.
Mhm.
So she does that in her friend group too. And I like how over the course of the book, and they're all growing up, they end up taking more care of each other. And Harper gets to kind of back off and say, no, you know what? My friends can do this for me too.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I love that. And Harper was such a wonderful FMC. Like I loved her so much. And I think they all just made the experience so real and it felt like such wonderful characters. Like, did you have a favorite moment while creating this story in this series?
Well, I think my absolute favorite moment is the very end of the book, and I don't want to give that away, but it's something that I've been like working toward for a very long time.
Yeah.
Other than that, I really enjoyed I enjoyed writing the conversation between Harper and Luca.
hmm
So Luca is Annika's husband, and it's really the first time you see Luca. She thinks that he's taking one side because her whole life has kind of programmed her to hear this one side that she's and he totally switches things up on her. And it ends up being a really, really productive conversation that kind of fuels her for a good portion of the book.
Yeah, it always like I sometimes maybe what readers connect with and the author that wrote it connects with might be different or maybe not something that you would necessarily think of. So I always love getting to hear what moment stood out to you, when you created this world.
Yeah, I love to write. I love to write big scenes where there's, a whole bunch of characters and everybody's having these side conversations that feed into the conversation and then things blow up. But it's also fun to write these really intimate two-person scenes where you really learn a lot about both characters.
Yeah, yeah. It ain't like one overpowers the other. Like you said, you get enough of everybody. And so it was just a really magical time. And like I said, I flew through the book, so that's always a good sign that I'm enjoying it. Speaking of the book, I know it is literally filled with so many of my favorite tropes. Like, what made you choose the tropes that was in this one?
Oh, I think that my two favorite tropes to write are kind of the tropes that I had in my own love story in a lot of ways. My husband and I have known each other since we were 12 years old. So when you've known each other for that long, we've been married for almost 33 years. When you've known each other for that long, you've gone through almost all the tropes, almost all of them.
Yeah.
And the one that we stayed in for a really, really long time, from 12 to 21 or so, was enemies. Like we did not like, well, he liked me. I was okay with him, but I had other interests and then we were in journalism together and we were on the newspaper and we just fought. Like we fought. So I love enemies to lovers, and then we get to college, we become friends, and I love friends to lovers. So
There you go. Oh my gosh.
yeah, those are really my two favorite trips. But like I said, we've been through all of them, including surprise pregnancy. Like we've had all those. Not like we've never had like hidden pregnancy. I told him.
Yeah.
Like he knew every time. But yeah, we've kind of lived through them all.
Oh wow. I actually love that. That's like so beautiful. Like that is just amazing. And
Oh, at times it was not. At times it was really insane. I assure you. My husband will tell you we've got a long storied love story that sometimes did not have much love.
well, hey, it just gave you even more inspiration for your career. So,
We went to prom together, not as dates.
oh,
We went in a limo together because I was his best friend's prom date. Yeah.
are you
Best
serious?
man at our wedding. There are pictures of me with him at prom.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Yeah, well, you totally had inspiration to create anything and everything, it sounds like then. And I'm totally with you. Enemies to lovers will always be my favorite trope. Like, I love so many, but that will always be number one for me. And anytime I see that's in a book, I'm like, gimme, gimme. So,
In this one where they they like spark off each other really nicely, and in a lot of ways they annoy each other, but they come to kind of realize what the other person is going through, how much they understand what the other person is going through, and kind of end up very much admiring them for how they handle it.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It amazes me how, people can create these stories out of their heads and it just turns to where it's something that us as readers, we're like hanging on your every word. We're ready for the next installment. We don't want the series to end. Like for someone as talented as you with as many works under your belt, what's it like switching gears from series to series?
It's necessary, honestly. For me, it's so necessary to get out of one mind. If I know there are some authors who like to stay with very much with one genre.
Mhm.
They're going to write suspense and that's what they do, and more power to them. My brain would break if I didn't give it like more. Like
Yeah.
I have a lot of interests, and I oftentimes feel like I get in a rut if I try to write one genre too much.
Mhm.
Um, like for a while I wrote a lot of menage and they started to feel very similar to me. But if I take a break, and I go write suspense, or I write urban fantasy, or I write um, kind of contemporary romance slash women's fiction. Like
Yeah.
this is, I feel like I come back fresher and ready to tackle the next genre in a way I wouldn't if I was just doing it back to back to back.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like you said, it's amazing that there's people that can do that, but for me personally, it feels like it would be very hard to feel like you was telling something different.
Yeah.
You know,
Fun, like in this, it was fun to write a book and a kind of a challenge. I often, when I'm writing suspense, I end up, relying on big booms
Mhm.
and all kind of a lot of actiony thing. And I didn't get to do that in this book because it's a quieter book. It doesn't have a bunch of guns blazing, but what it does have is emotional bombs that go off. And
Yeah.
it can be really cathartic to write something like that.
Yeah, it had a lot of emotional depth and just like, between all of the characters was beautifully done and really felt like it tugged on your heartstrings. And then it
Yeah.
had the romance with it, of course. So,
Because she has to deal with a lot of toxicity inside her family that oddly enough Rita's had to deal with too. It just they it doesn't look like it on the surface.
yeah, it was just a wonderful experience, and I loved that I got the chance to chat with you about this read because I love picking your brain and hearing your creative process creating these stories. Um, I know it's going to be hard, but do you have a favorite quote from this book alone?
I you know what? I think my favorite quote from this book is a question that Harper asked herself. So she's sitting in a boardroom. It's roughly the end of the book. She's sitting in the boardroom and she's coming to the realization that nothing she does is going to fix this problem, and she's being put in a corner.
Mhm.
And Reed wants to rush in and save her. And she finally asks the question, what if I didn't? And I think it's a question a lot of women need to ask themselves when they are put in these positions where they're the ones who are holding everything together with glue and hope and three limbs trying to stop all the fires, and nobody's really helping them. And what if you didn't?
Yeah.
And the real question that she asks is, because everybody's telling her what she owes them. And she asked the question, what do I owe myself? What do I want at the end of this life? Do am I owe something to me too. I need to love me too.
That's an incredible answer.
Yeah, and I think that kind of runs through all three books
Mhm.
in the series of, what do we as women, as human beings, owe to ourselves? It's
Yeah.
really easy for us to say, well, we're going to take care of the world. But I've often said, like, we have to take care of ourselves first in order to be of any service to anyone else.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think it's very important that those type of topics are actually when they're included into books today because a lot of the times they're not, or it's, it don't focus on that or it don't bring out those kind of aspects.
Uh,
So I'm very happy that you want to include that into your work.
yeah, I want to entertain, but I end up learning a lot about myself.
Mhm.
I mean, so many of these things are questions that I had to ask myself as I approach the advanced age, the 50s. You know, not even approach. I'm kind of dived into that. Um, but as I get older, I've had to deal with a lot of things, losing my parents, figuring out what I want for the rest of my life. But most importantly, I think women, it's not even that our parents like teach us to. Society teaches us to take care of everything.
Mhm.
And we oftentimes just forget that we're important too.
Yeah.
And I think I hope that younger women can get this, that I did not figure out until I was much older. So a lot of this is me working through just what it means to be human and to be alive in this time and how we deal with things.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for doing that. And it's just amazing, that you want people and younger women to take that away from your books, and I think they will because that just, like I said, it opens a door that not a lot of authors do these days, you know? So
Mhm.
it's really amazing that that's something that you're passionate about. Speaking of your wonderful characters, is there any specific character that you see glimpses of yourself in, or that you took a little bit of inspiration from your life to put in?
All of them. I mean, I would actually say that there's a little bit of me in almost every character, including the bad guys.
Oh,
Um, I really mean that. I love now, and this in this book, the bad guys are really just they're kind of over the top bad guys. I have in the past written bad guys. My favorite bad guys. I like to either write the completely over the top bad guy who you just hate, or I like the bad guy who makes a little bit of sense.
yeah,
And you sit there and you go, but I hate her, but I like what she's saying. What she's saying is not wrong.
yeah,
Um, so I like to kind of write those two types of bad guys because again, I think every character has some aspect of me, even if what I'm showing you is what I don't like. And obviously, most of the heroines, like I call my books my therapy, my version of therapy, because it almost always has something to do with something I am going through and working through. Sometimes my husband will read the book and he'll come in and say, "Do we need to talk? Like, did I do that?" And because I do, I will sublimate and kind of end up working through it um, in a book.
yeah,
So I think, there are characters who are very close to me, who are much more like me. I would say of the three characters in Park Avenue Promise, I'm Ivy. I'm the first heroine, the one from Stardust Up.
love
Although
that.
I don't eat as much street food as she does, but she's got a very big dreams, very ambitious dreams, and she sometimes forgets uh that there's a lot of nice stuff in small things, and that's what she gets balanced out by her hero
Yeah.
and they hit her overgrown golden retriever hero. So yeah, I would definitely say that of those three, that's the one that's most like me.
I loved what I've seen of her character in this book alone. Like I was laughing so much. She's just such a fun character, and I love that that's the one that you see yourself in.
I do not have her computer skills. I don't. Like Ivy is a great hacker. I can barely use Uber. Like, yeah. In that way, it's like wish fulfillment that I've written a lot of hacker girls. I love a hacker girl,
Yeah,
probably because it'd be so cool to be one.
I know. This like I don't know if you've ever watched the series Arrow.
Hmm.
Yes, okay.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I was
Felicity Smoke. I love
Yes.
her.
Felicity is the best, and has the computer sense. She is confident. She is just the best. So I totally relate to you with the wish fulfillment there.
Yeah.
Kind of piggybacking on that question, if you could be one of your characters, maybe besides Ivy, who would you choose for a day? Like if you got to experience their life for a day.
Um, I feel like I live a couple of their lives because there are some who are really close to me. If I had to pick, just because it would be a lot of fun, and I've written this character in, oh my gosh, she was the heroine of 5 books, and then she's in the all of the secondary books, and now I'm actually in the kids' books, and she shows up again. Her name is Zoe. She was kind of my first heroine in Thieves, a book series called Thieves.
Yes.
I mean, it's urban fantasy, so it would be fun to be Queen Zoe. It really would. I mean, except for all the time she gets her ass kicked,
Yeah.
which
So
happens a lot. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, like, if I could do it on a day where she's just, hanging out with her vampire king husband and her fairy prince husband, and she's got like beautiful pixies hanging out around her, that would be great. Maybe not so much if she's, in the middle of a fight, but I'll roll those dice.
yeah, yeah. All the other times, and then just hope a fight don't come up while you're there. Then I guess actually.
That's right.
There's just something so fun about having like urban fantasy and mystical creatures getting to escape to. What is your favorite genre, like as a reader? Like, what are your favorite genres to read?
I read a lot of paranormal.
Yeah.
What we now call romantasy, which I mean, I would say romantasy is a little different from paranormal and urban fantasy, but I love romantasy. It's a great kind of escape. I love the world building in it,
Yeah.
but I also love contemporary, and I love when an author takes like the world building you get in romantasy and does that in a contemporary setting. I think that's really, really awesome. Like when you really build out this world. I read a lot of thrillers.
Yes.
I love a good thriller. I love a I love a good horror. Um, so I think outside of romance, horror and thrillers are what I really gravitate towards.
We have a lot of similar taste. Although I have not actually read a straight up horror yet.
Hmm.
But
Oh,
I
there's
did
some good ones out there.
I know, I've heard great things. And the other day I actually thrifted a collector's edition of Stephen King,
Uh-huh.
and I found it for $1, and I'm just like, this might be
Ugh.
my first horror read. And I was like, it's got the
Which one was
collectible
it?
cover. And oh, I can't think of what it was. It's on my shelf. I think it's like silver and gray and it has like a face imprint on it.
Yeah, he's got a million, so
I know.
he's
It's
a very prolific author, but all of them are good. My favorite Stephen King's are he wrote a book called The Green Mile that's just one of the most beautiful books ever, while being, adequately horrifying.
yes. Gotta remember that.
Yeah,
Okay,
adequately horrifying, but also just a really beautiful read.
I'll have to add that one to my TBR because I don't think I've actually heard of that one of his for some
It's
reason.
really good.
I know he's like the GOAT when it comes to horror, but I don't think I've actually heard of that one, so I'm definitely gonna be looking it up.
Yeah.
I love hearing that, you love to dabble in reading these genres, and while you're writing these genres, um, where did your love of writing come from a love of reading, or was it sort of backwards? You just started writing and then started reading?
No, I think that my mother read constantly. My mother read like most people watch TV.
Oh wow.
Like she did. Like you if you're binging Netflix, she was binging Harlequin books, or especially she loved historical romance
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So I grew up just, and my dad loved reading nonfiction.
Mm,
My father grew up very poor, and education was it ended up being incredibly important to him. So having his kids read, what my mother would always say is, I will deny you a toy if we can't make, you don't need, but she's like, if you ask me for a book, I'll probably buy it. And so I just kind of grew up surrounded by it. My dad used to love to tell me stories. He never wrote them down, but he had a very creative mind. So, I can say the first book I remember just vividly, um, crawling into and being just obsessed with was Charlotte's Web by E.B. White, which
yeah.
is why my favorite, well, one of my favorite heroines is named Charlotte after Charlotte's Web. But like I just found these worlds that I could live in,
Mhm.
that felt made the world that I was really in. It made it easier when I could go to those places.
Yeah.
And so that kind of naturally led to, I want to write. Now, went through a pretentious phase where I decided I was going to be a journalist, and hence me being on the newspaper with the man who I ended up marrying. The problem with journalism is they don't let you make things up. You have to talk to people. I wanted to make things up, and I did not want to talk to people except the ones in my head.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for a long time, I did playwriting. I had a couple of plays produced,
Ooh.
but I kind of stayed away from the one thing that I loved most in the world, the romance novel.
Yeah.
Because, well, and I did that because, I wanted my dad to be proud of me. I wanted people to look at me like a real writer. And this is what I'm talking about when I talk about how we put up roadblocks
Mhm.
on ourselves, especially when we're younger. We
Right.
listen to too many other voices instead of hearing the one that's deep inside of us.
Exactly.
And it wasn't until I was true to what I love to do that I found any kind of success.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy that you finally decided to dive into that because like you said, I think, you know, you have like a passion. Maybe if it's not the most common or the most heard of, maybe you're a little bit hesitant about putting yourself out there with it and whatever. And that's like me. Like I started my little book page in the last summer and fast forward to now and look at everything that's happened. I'm so grateful that I finally started doing what I was passionate about and that I get to do this every day. And so I totally get what you're saying.
And I will say it gets easier. Like sometimes the hardest thing to deal with is criticism,
Mhm.
and that criticism in the beginning, it feels like daggers to your heart. And I will tell you that I came into publishing with that idea of people criticizing me being my biggest fear.
Mhm.
And I mean, I'm 100 books in, and not everyone's going to be to everyone's taste. And are you really a writer if somebody hasn't said you wrote the worst book ever written? Like, can you even count yourself as a writer? So,
Yeah.
it's funny how something like criticism, which seems so scary at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like a lot of people say you ain't made it until you had your first hater. So,
Oh, yeah.
that that's a I totally get that mindset. And I think you probably would feel like, hey, this is legit. Like I'm actually doing this. There's people giving me their opinions.
I always tell writers, if they're bothered by their bad review, like go pick the book that you love most in the world.
Mhm.
Go to Goodreads because that's the place to go. Go
Yes.
to Goodreads because that's where let me tell you, that's where people are just gonna unload on you.
Oh yeah.
And read the reviews, because read the reviews on The Great Gatsby. There are people who hate that book. There are people who hate, I mean, these classic, obviously beautifully done works of fiction. So it just puts you in, it gives you a sense of perspective that, we all go through. Everything will get criticized.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's no reason to not do it.
I know. If people listen to that, you would never do anything that you loved or that you were passionate about. Like I speaking of
Yeah.
Goodreads, I was on there earlier today and looking up one of my favorite reads of the year so far and seeing someone had one started recently, and I'm just like, that is so crazy to me. Like that there's actually, that happens. But like you said, just
Just
don't. Just
I was at
don't.
a conference recently where they said something about, like, the person was asking authors questions. They were like, "Now, how do you handle Goodreads?" And we were all like, "We do not.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
we stay away. That is reader space, and we it is a haunted house. We will not go in."
Yeah, exactly. I think one of the best phrases that I've heard was Carrie Underwood. She said that she does a post and go. So she like uploads the picture whenever she posts it
Uh-huh.
and runs and don't look at the comments. Like you just
That's
post it,
right.
post and ghost. And I'm just like, yeah, that's what people need to do.
Yeah. Well, there's a time I always have, like, my husband reads reviews, especially right up front. Um, and my assistant will read some reviews, and if there's something like the pacing felt off in this book, and we get enough of it, then that's good criticism that you should use to type. But if it's like, I hated this heroine and she was
Right.
terrible, and you just have to know that there are some characters that not everyone will like, especially if you are writing, trying to be kind of realistic and giving them these big flaws to work
Right.
through.
Right, exactly. It's a whole different ball game. Like when people just want to trash things just to be trashing things. And so, yeah,
But
there's
the best thing in the world is to have somebody who comes in and says, "I never thought I would see myself in a book, and here I am. I feel heard and seen." It's fuel for you to keep moving.
literally, it has to feel so special to you as an author when readers say that. Do you have like a one of like what's one of your favorite moments that you've encountered with one of your readers?
Oh, well, I've been around for a long time, so I've had a lot of readers. I recently wrote a neurotypical heroine in a book called No More Spies. And the feedback that I got, I was worried. I have loved this character. Her name's Kala Taggart since she was born. Like, I have written this from the time she was born to when she gets her happily ever after, and now moving forward. Um, so I personally felt really deeply connected to her. She is difficult. She's stubborn. She doesn't always see the world the way other people do. She's very, very neurodivergent, and I have a house full of them. My daughter's autistic. My oldest son is autistic, and I wanted to, represent how they see the world differently, they experience the world differently.
Hmm.
And sometimes having someone who is willing to learn your language is the most love you can possibly get. And that's really what happens to her. And I was worried that she would come across as kind of hard, kind of insular, and she is those things, but there's also a really gooey center to her. And so when the feedback came and I had people telling me that they loved that I was able to put that on a page
Yeah.
and to make them feel seen and make them feel heard, that was really special. That's probably been the thing in the last couple of years, that has given me, a lot of fuel and life and fire to do more.
Wow, that is really, really beautiful. I read No More Spies and adored it. And so I'm really happy that that has a very special moment tied to it for you. You just do so well at creating like all these different stories. Like they're all so different, but yet you can tell like it's all one voice, like it's all coming from you. So I love your writing and I love the way you create these worlds and craft them and pass them on to your readers. Do you have like anything that you must have with you when you write? Like, is there any writing rituals?
I am a total ritual girl. Okay, I have this bottle, this weird plastic bottle, and it has, this is what I did today. I did these little sprints. So I started out at 69,508. Over the course of the day, I'm supposed to get to 72,508, 3,000 words. So I write them on these things, and then I put them in, I roll them up and I put them in the little plastic bottle. And at the end of it, I seal the plastic bottle and I label it with the book that I'm writing. It is the weirdest thing. I have hundreds of these things that I have not gotten rid of. It's like it's a hoarder thing, and I am not a hoarder. I'm actually I'm not, but for some reason I have these little water bottles. Um, but yeah, I'm very much a ritual person. I come in, I have my green tea because I start out the day with green tea. I switch to coffee,
Oh,
and then
gotcha.
I do my Jeopardy, my tearaway Jeopardy thing. I write in my journal, and I start this weird process of sprinting. Now, the other thing that I must have is my emotional support writers. I get on Zoom every day and write with Mary Carr and Lila Dubois, and that has changed. It's made things so much easier to have coworkers. I thought I was like this solitary person who like the hermit lived in like little corners and wrote her books. Turned out I really like coworkers.
That is amazing. And I love the water bottle thing. Like that's actually so
It's absolutely the weirdest thing I do, and I do some weird things like, but this sprinting, like when I go on the road, I will take my little post-it notes with me because that's just, I don't know, it's like the day's done when I roll it up and I put it in. And
that is actually so amazing. It looks like it would be like almost therapeutic in a way, like after you spend your time sprinting and getting it done, and then like you put it in your little bottle, and this like that's gonna be like so fun to look back on, like your collection.
yeah, I've got a closet back here, and my assistant has arranged them. And I'd like to do, like, I was in a blue mood for this book, so it's different shades of blue, but I have like 19. I have so many I'm a post-it junkie. So like I have pink, and they're all over the place.
I love it. I love that so much. That's just like so entertaining, and like now that I'm gonna think next time I read your book, like I'm gonna see you doing the process, and I'm just it's just gonna make it even better. Okay, speaking of your book, what three words would you say would describe Built to Last?
Um, three words. Um, grumpy,
Yes.
grumpier, because that really describes those characters. Grumpy, grumpier, and family.
Beautiful. Like you said, that was the perfect words for that for them too because it just summed it up amazing.
Yeah, there's no sunshine in that group. I mean, Jeremiah is sunshine, but he is not involved in the between Reed and Harper. It's grumpy and grumpier.
Exactly. It made it so much like so entertaining and so fun because it was just like the back and forth and it was just perfect. Um, is there anything that you would like to hint at? Anything coming up this year for our listeners of what to expect from you next?
Yeah, I've got a book coming out in at the end of July called The Reluctant Siren, which is a Texas Siren's legacy book. Also though, you don't have to have read anything. It's a really nice standalone. And then I've got a book coming out in the fall called Spy with Me, which is the next book in the Masters and Mercenaries New Recruits. That one is better to read all of them. It's my spy soap opera that you're affected from the first book. I mean, we're still dealing with some things from the first book.
Exactly.
But I love a saga. I can't seem to get away from a good saga. You know, I love a meaty long-term series. And that one is the book that should not have been. This was supposed to be five books. Five. It was supposed to be five books. And I suddenly managed to wedge in the fifth book was supposed to be Kenzie's book, and it ended up being Zach's. So, because Zach turned out to not do what I asked him to do. So,
Ah, the characters kind of ran on their own.
yeah, every now and then they surprise me. Every now and then they pop up and Zach basically told me I had him all wrong, and here we are.
Here we are. Well, hey, your readers aren't going to complain because they get more from you. So,
No, they would probably be mad because the first thing I was going to do was make him a really bad guy, and he turned out to not be. Yeah.
oh,
Yeah. There are times when, I'll get into the middle of something and I realize now this guy's too lovable. They'll kill me. They will be really upset.
that's got to be so difficult when you're trying to gauge like how the story is going to go and you know that that's going to be the response you get.
Yeah, I mean, especially because readers are very like when they're reading, I'm not talking about in their real life, but when they're reading, they can be very morally flexible. They can be
Yeah,
very much like we could turn this bad guy around. And
exactly.
I'm like, no, he's the bad guy. Like he's really, really bad. And they'll be like, I don't know. I had a character one time in the urban fantasy. He used to be Jack the Ripper. And I had a reader who became a very good friend of mine who wrote me and she was like, have you considered writing a book for him? I'm like, no, he was Jack the Ripper. She still to this day swears that it would have he could have been redeemed.
Oh my gosh. I think morally gray and just straight up gray has become become very popular these days.
It has. In some cases, we're not even like gray. We have moved into darkness.
Yeah.
But it's also good to explore those fantasies in a safe, healthy way, which is a book.
Mm.
And to ask those questions and find those places in ourselves because they can't hurt us
Yeah.
if they're no longer shadows that we don't understand.
Exactly. It makes reading like such a fun experience because you have it from, you have everything and people read like everything and like you said they might love stuff that maybe is not the best thing in real life. Like I just was out of state yesterday and at a convention and I was wearing a Twilight shirt and I went to order food at a restaurant and they were like, "Team Edward or Team Jacob?" And I'm like, "Team Edward forever." And they're like, "No, no, that I'm Team Jacob. That was too toxic." And I'm like, Okay, but we like toxic when it's
Oh yeah, it's totally one thing. Look, it's one thing to do it in a book. It's different. But I think that, like I said, that's the fun thing about fiction and in movies and plays and all of that is just that kind of expo. It's a safe place to explore those parts of ourselves and deal with those parts of ourselves that, kind of find that a little hot.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's the great thing about reading. It's got something for everyone and you can relate to so many different things. And
But
so
it's also really cool to have that community. Like you're wearing a shirt and you don't know this person, but now you have something in common.
I
Now you
know.
have something that you can talk about because that spark that made you love it is inside that other person too. It's the beautiful thing about work and writing, and it's why I am so passionately against artificial intelligence, generative AI.
Yep.
We put our hearts and souls in books, and it's the heart and soul that we put in the book that reaches and bridges to bring people in. And I'm just gonna say that Chat GPT does not have a soul. So
No, literally, like you said, that's what readers want. That's what we connect with. It's from what you guys pour into the books that
mhm.
make it so special. And that's like, these stories connect you to I have met so many incredible people, so many amazing friends that I otherwise wouldn't have known because we
Yeah,
wouldn't have had that in common. So it's just like amazing how it can just like turn things around and bring everybody together.
it really lets you know that you are not alone.
Yeah.
Even if you're an author who isn't as popular and you worry that there is somebody out there who needs to read what you're writing. They need to read what you're writing.
Hmm.
And it's important because you'll find that one reader who connects to it and who didn't have that before. And it's important.
Yeah, exactly. It's really important. And it's amazing when you see people, posting or writing in the reviews how much they saw themselves in the character, how much they connected with the story, or how much they were grateful to the author for putting it out there into the world. So, yeah, it's just a
Yeah.
magical, magical thing. Thank you so much for wanting to come on the podcast and chat with me for an episode because I absolutely loved getting to talk with you. We did our interview over on Instagram, and I was so excited that I got to chat with you about this new read and spread the word about it and get people hyped up because it deserves all the hype.
Well, thank you so much for having me. You've been so sweet, and I have loved both of our conversations. They've been great.
Oh, thank you. Right back at you. Like, I think I could just talk to you all the time. You are just the sweetest person and such a delight, and I love getting to chat with you. And I'm sorry if I've talked your ear off.
Oh
You're
no, I love it.
you're just a pure joy, and I'm so thankful that you wanted to do this with me. And I hope our listeners want to go check out Built to Last and everything that you've written because you have them lined up to the nines.
Something for everyone.
Exactly. Genres, tropes, throw them all in. There's everything there. And to everybody that's listening, I will link all of Lexi's socials and where to find her books in the description. So please be sure to go check them out and give her a follow.
Thank you for having me, and thanks to everybody who listened.